Hi everyone and welcome, this is the Apostate Prophet. Don't act so shocked because of the video title. This is not about racism. I guess. I don't know yet. Let's see what happens. Currently I'm being invaded on Instagram by Instagram Muslims. Very peaceful people, usually Pakistanis and Indian Muslims, who sent me death threats and tell me that they want to rape my family and kill me if they ever see me. That of course convinces me totally that Islam is a peaceful religion and that Muslims are usually totally peaceful and tolerant. But I say they are Pakistanis and Indian Muslims. Maybe they just reflect a different version of Islam. Maybe Islam is much more peaceful than Muslims make it look, you know. I mean, aren't we always told that we have to read the Quran in Arabic? Or that we have to ask scholars who read it in Arabic? So, you know, maybe the Arabic Islam is the right Islam. But why would God, if he cares so much about all people, why would Allah, if he's a God for all people, send a book that can only be perfectly understood in Arabic, that cannot be understood in any other language if translated? Such a thing doesn't exist, by the way. Maybe this is because Islam was meant to be a religion for Arabs. Maybe it was an Arab religion, you know, like so many other nations, like so many other people had in history. Maybe Muhammad and his fictional god planned only to spread that stupid crap in Arabia among Arab people, or, you know, in the region of Mecca. But later, when it worked much better than expected, they just started to call it a global religion and to convert other people too. And then they just spread very peacefully, if you believe this. To be serious for 1 second, to be serious for 1 second, you don't have to read the Quran in Arabic to understand it. There is no such thing. If you are a bit familiar with linguistics, you would know that there are much more complex languages than Arabic back then that were translated and that can be perfectly understood pretty well. I mean, we translate much older things, much older scriptures today and read them. But in Islam, there is always this obsession with Arabic. You know, everything has to be done in Arabic. The prayers have to be done in Arabic. When you pray 5 times a day, you have to recite everything in Arabic. When you go to the pilgrimage, you have to do so many things in Arabic. Most of usual greetings are in Arabic, even though you can translate all those things and you can perfectly understand it and you can perfectly say the same exact thing in a different language. I mean, if Islam was a global religion, if Allah was really a God who sends a message to all humankind, why the hell would he just make a religion that can only be understood in the language of some no racism weird and uneducated people back then in the deserts of Arabia? Some people even want to go on today and want to do the Arabic thing all the time, you know. Like, they even make YouTube videos, or they just speak in mosques and wherever. And they speak the language perfectly fine. They speak the local language, like English, for example, perfectly fine. But they constantly throw in these totally weird things, like, and Islam, you know, and the Al-Quran says here, you know, why do you have to do that? Because of the obsession with Arabic. I could do the same thing. I could constantly go on about the Al-Quran and something like that, but we don't do the same thing with foreign words of other languages or that have nothing to do with religion. Also, I'm not an Arab and I speak English pretty well, and also I am not mentally challenged. Anyway, is Islam an Arab religion? Makes you wonder sometimes, and the Quran doesn't really help us prove otherwise. Let's look at all the things in the Quran that make me think that Islam is pretty much an Arab religion. And thus we have revealed to you an Arabic Quran that you may warn the mother of cities, Mecca, and those around it, and warn of the day of assembly, about which there is no doubt. A party will be in paradise and a party in the blaze. Very nice. As we can see here, it says that it has been sent down as an Arabic Quran, which is very weird because, I mean, God always used to speak to Jews, but apparently he was here upset with the Jews, and then he thought, oh, those Arabs, they make weird things here in the deserts, let me just talk to them. They are pretty crazy anyway. And the verse clearly says mother of cities, which refers to Mecca. Why Mecca? Why the hell Mecca, And why does the Quran explicitly mention that? Next verse, 44 verse 58. And indeed, we have eased the Quran in your tongue, that you might be reminded. Here again, the Quran talks about how the Quran has been sent down in the Prophet's language and in the language of those who are around them. Another verse, chapter 41, verse 44. It says, "And if we had made it a non-Arabic Quran, they would have said, why are its verses not explained in detail in our language? Is it a foreign recitation and an Arab messenger? Say, it is for those who believe, a guidance and cure. And those who do not believe, in their ears is deafness, and it is upon them blindness. Those are being called from a distant place." Here in this verse, Muhammad's fictional friend Allah justifies the reason why he sent down the Quran in Arabic. And he basically says, well, you better believe what is in here, or otherwise you will be punished, guys. Very convincing. Chapter 12, verse 2. It says again, "Indeed, we have sent it down as an Arabic Quran that you might understand." Again, here Allah explains that He gave Muhammad the oral Quran in Arabic and the people around him, because that will be so useful for the Chinese people. The reason I'm reading these Quran verses is, I think it's pretty obvious. I mean, why would an almighty God who wants to speak to all humankind, to all people until eternity, multiple times in the Quran say that he sent down the Quran in Arabic so that you might understand it? I mean, how does it make sense to a European, to a German person, for example, in the 21st century? How exactly does it make sense? And why does the German person in the 21st century have to be disadvantaged when reading the Quran? It makes absolutely no sense. Then it's not a global religion. Or Allah just changed his mind, or Allah had no idea what he's doing, or Allah does not exist. Apparently responding to complaints that the Quran is in Arabic, the Quran suddenly included a verse which is as follows. Chapter 14, verse 4. "And we did not send any messenger except speaking in the language of his people, to state clearly for them. And Allah sends astray whom He wills and guides whom He wills." So the Quran says here that it is totally normal that Muhammad speaks Arabic because he was sent to the Arabs. But later, suddenly, he also became the universal prophet, the final universal prophet. And the Quran makes a little mistake here because according to Jewish belief, and that belief was there long before Muhammad declared his prophecy, the same God of the Bible, who is also, as Muhammad claims, the God of the Quran, sent non-Jewish prophets long before Moses, but wasn't supposed to send any non-Jewish prophets anymore after that. But suddenly here he does. So the Quran has very obvious mistakes here, and very obvious contradictions with the Bible that it is apparently based on, according to Muhammad, which it is clearly not. Of course, there are also verses in the Quran that are about how the Quran is for the people or for all mankind. Or Muhammad said in his last times things like that this is for all people. But that's not the point. As said, those things were said mostly much later. In the beginnings, and in the Quran multiple times it says that the Quran was sent down by Allah in Arabic so that you might understand it. There are, of course, also some things that may make us think that the Quran is either based on total ignorance or that it was indeed only for that little desert region. One of them is fasting. Fasting, according to the Quran, happens in Ramadan as an obligation. What the Quran says about the times of fasting is as follows. "And eat and drink until the white thread of dawn becomes distinct to you from the black thread of night. Then complete the fast until the sunset." This, of course, is no problem if you live in Arabia in the 7th century. If you are suddenly in the 20th century and you discover that there are places north of the Arctic Circle where it is daylight or night, darkness for much, much longer than just a day. This verse suddenly makes no sense. So if you want to really fast around there, then you might probably die of starvation. So Allah is a murderer in this situation. Please don't listen to Allah. Yeah, as we can see, the author of the Quran, who is Muhammad or Allah, which is Muhammad's fictional friend, probably didn't really know that there are also such places where the sun is up or totally gone for a long, long time. So that you might die if you really try to fast. Or you can't even fast because the sun just doesn't appear. But Allah also didn't know that the earth is not flat, so he's not to blame. There is so much more to say, like the fact that Islam is incompatible with other cultures. If you take Western people right now, for example, Islam is totally incompatible with Western people. It was even incompatible with Western people back then. Western people treated their women much, much better at that time than Muslims did. Even Turkic people, even the Turks who converted to Islam a few centuries later, treated their women much, much better before they converted to Islam than they treated them after they converted to Islam. And how can you come today and tell German people and tell a German woman that she should be totally fine with the thought that her husband can have 3 more wives beside her and that she has really no say in this? That's all I have to say for now. If you have any opinions on this, you can tell me so in the comment section. You can share your views and tell me if you think that Islam was meant to be an Arab religion only at the beginnings and later turned into a global religion. Or just say whatever you want in the comment section. Like that you love my videos and that you love my German accent. Thank you for watching. You can follow me on social media. I'm very active on Instagram and on Twitter. I also have a Patreon page. You can support me there if you want to support my cause and if you want me to focus on scrutinizing Islam and exposing it for what it is. I'm also on Gather Report and will be there with more articles very soon. I will be back with another video on Friday and I will read you the Al-Quran. Thank you for your support and stay away from Islam.